Who's a top?
I'm a top.
Who's a top?
I'm a top.
Who's a top?
I'm a top. Stop it. I'm a top.
No. That is the different kind of gassing me up that I needed right now.
Is that gaslighting?
No, gassing up someone is like, woo, let's gas you up.
People don't say gas you up, do they?
Roll the opening. Hello, and welcome back to
What's Safe Word?
I'm Am.
I'm Mr. Christopher.
And today,
we are answering your important questions.
and giving you gay relationship advice.
Even though we're not qualified to do so.
No, and that's how the episode should really start is, hey, we're gay.
So we know everything.
And we have lots of sex and relationships and dating. Like, we've been through the ringer a little bit. We're very resilient. We are queer. And while we do have the audacity to try and be great at just about everything.
If there's one thing that you should know about me, it's that my homosexual audacity leads me to believe I possess any and all required skills.
I do think we're pretty good at relationships.
I mean, just look at him. He's a train wreck.
Wow.
He's been through it.
As you can see, we are in a very great relationship where everything's going perfectly, and we love each other very much, but we're also kinky and poly. So, today we're answering your relationship advice questions that you asked us. Daddy explosion. Wow, that was an atomic explosion.
I know, right?
Let's get on to the questions! We do a relationship advice question episode like once a year at the very least. I was really looking for some really good relationship advice questions, and I hate when people start out by just asking, how do I get in a relationship? Like, that's not funny. We've heard it before.
Yeah.
So the first question coming from Dutch Dizzy Dude, how do I get in
No.
I wanna be where the people who ask better questions are. The first question from Jeremy Sheffield says, how do you trap a... Okay.
How do you trap a what?
How do you trap a man?
Oh.
No, that's even worse.
It's easy.
No. This question from Orc asks, what do you think is the most important thing to do in a relationship after communicating? Now, this is a good question.
Sex.
No. No, honestly, I think our perspectives are interesting. Is sex the most important thing for you after communicating?
After communicating? No, but it's one of the more important things for me in a relationship.
Communication, of course, very, very important, because communication and being on the same page, I would always say, is the foundation of a good relationship. But after that, I think, is being interested in your partner, showing interest and being emotional.
And even more than that, being kind. I think a lot of people in relationships, they get to know each other. It's kind of like the new car smell has worn off, and then you just are habitating with each other, and you tend to not be so kind anymore to each other because you irritate each other a bit sometimes.
If communicating is the most important thing, listening and habitating, or sorry, new car smells, you gotta smell good, but listening is really important. I've always loved your smell. When was the last time you showered?
This morning. But then I went to the gym and had sex.
Next question. Something that always comes up whenever we ask about relationship advice is generally a lot of non-monogamy questions and poly questions. So this next one is a thick one. And it comes from Boy Morgan, who asks, new to ethical non-monogamy. Finally found a guy who actually totally respects it, and we are on the same page. What's the proper way to balance the time I spend with him and the time I spend with others? How do I ensure that he knows he's my primary? First of all, ethical non-monogamy, or ENM for short, it is an acronym, is when you're having a relationship that's monogamish or open, or however you identify it ethically. Everyone's on board. Everyone's on the same page. If you want your partner to know that the primary, have you told him?
Yeah, so that boils down to communication. And the biggest thing with having a poly relationship is time management.
And
that is
right
the
underneath that,
number one thing.
multiple people, Artemis included, says Google Calendar.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a balancing act you have all your life.
I think the key here is time management. For instance, for us, when we first started dating, we were not using the same Google Calendars, and it caused a lot of like crunchy moments where we're like, well, I didn't know, and I was like, oh, it's on my calendar. Google Calendars have saved many an instance that could have been really bad because we're on the same page, quite literally.
But the question is, how much time do you spend on one versus the other? And I think the answer to that is it really depends on your relationship with that person and how much time they need.
And knowing what their needs are too. If you're gonna be in any relationship, but especially opening up your relationship even the slightest bit, that could cause cracks. And if you're not filling those cracks in with the proper communication, that foundation will fall apart. You know? So you gotta be good about knowing the wants, the needs, the expectations, and checking in.
Hello, checking in. Room 69, please.
That's the sex room. This is a bit.
I got it.
Just stonewall. Happy Pride Month. Next question. Actually, this next one's a great follow-up because we talked about a little ethical non-monogamy or...
Being a slut.
No. What is the acronym?
Oh, E-N-M.
Great. And a non-Fox asks, what would you say is the difference between a casual relationship, an ethical non-monogamous relationship, and a polyamorous relationship? So let's talk about that. It's 3 different levels, like casual, ethical non-monogamy / opening relationships, and poly. What is a casual relationship to you?
Casual relationship would be somebody I was dating but not getting too serious about.
Yeah, it's not a primary situation. It's probably just kind of flings, maybe one-night stands, or just casually going on dates and getting to know each other. As it said, casual. It's not serious.
Friends with benefits.
Yeah, it could be that too. Whereas an ethical non-monogamy, an open relationship, monogamish, is going to be something that is a bit casual, but is very serious with that one person, your primary, who you're dating.
Your primary, but your primary has conversion for you to have sex with other people and have relationships with other people.
But the key there is ethical non-monogamy is just having a relationship and not being a dick about it when you want to have sex with other people. If you were being a dick about it, that's where it becomes the cheating. That's where it becomes the dishonesty.
And usually in a situation like that, there are rules that the 2 people primaries have established. So if you are breaking those rules, you're breaking a trust, and you don't want to do that.
The biggest difference being that ethical non-monogamy is where you are having a primary emotional relationship with one person, and then you're free to have sex and other kinds of emotions with other people, but you have that primary emotional connection with that one person. Whereas with polyamory, that's where you're opening it up to having emotional, maybe loving, very deep connections with more than one person.
Multiple people.
You can still have the casual dating and sex with other people, and that's part of your poly dynamic, but that is the main difference, is having a very deep emotional connection with someone versus just kind of having sex and fun.
A point I would say about the ethical non-monogamy is that comes in many forms. It can be don't ask, don't tell. It can be when I'm gone for a weekend. It can be
monogamish.
You have a play partner that I'm comfortable with.
It's lots of different things.
Yeah.
Poly is definitely more, I'm being emotionally connected with multiple people intently. Like, there is so much communication. Where you think, like, casual is like, communicating, yeah, we're kind of serious. Having a real relationship that then opens, that's pretty serious communication. This is mega super extra serious communication on poly level.
Super serious.
Super serious.
Super serious.
Yeah. You're Donkey Kong. Yeah.
Super serious.
This next question from Flint asks, how do you approach telling your partner you have a kink, especially if it's more taboo? When do you introduce someone to a taboo kink?
I would say early on in the dating, but not right away. When you know things are going to be going well and you really like this person and you know they like you, that's the time to start becoming forthcoming about who you really are. You know, we put our best dating face on at the beginning.
Give me your dating face. And then once the dating phase wears off and you guys actually know each other, you'll know if they're going to be the person you want to expose those kinks to.
And be vulnerable. If you feel like you can be vulnerable to someone and you're not going to be shamed for it, then that's the time to do it.
Regardless of it being a taboo or just a discordance there, it's all about how you approach it. We call that Christmas, not Cancer. And it's very simple.
Mary, I love rope!
Who?
Merry Christmas.
Oh, I thought you were calling me Mary, and I was like,
No.
I love rope too, Stacy. It's great. How you approach a topic is going to be how people will interpret it. If I say, I have this rope kink that's, I mean, it's not, you don't have to, but it's something that's really, but I mean, it's like, it's what, you know, it's kind of weird.
Now I don't want to do it.
Exactly.
If you don't want to do it, I don't want to do it.
Exactly.
Wouldn't it be hot if you tied me up and my ass was up in the air and you got to do whatever you wanted and I couldn't stop you? Because I really like giving my ass to you and I really want to do this with you.
That's progress, I suppose. You made it sexy, and I liked that. And maybe when you're getting into the kink itself with a new partner or exploring with an old partner and you just might not be in the same room, this next question from Melody says, how does one manage long distance kinks? And also, how to do, for example, impact play, bondage over the phone, Zoom, Discord. Obviously, there are kinks more suited to long-distance play, like Hypno and Chastity, but maybe there is a way to make other kinks work. I really like Hypno and Chastity for long-term play. I think, as Melody stated, it's a great one if you're into them.
In today's age with technology, we have so many more options for staying connected when we're long distance. You can see each other, you can do sexy times with each other. There are other toys you can experiment with, and you can do it all live while talking to each other. It's actually kind of hot.
Dirty talking someone through a scene, like talking them through that, a jerk-off instruction, if you will, or a joy, that is a thing, JOIs, is really helpful. You can tell someone to spank themselves. You can tell someone to pull their own balls.
If you can't love yourself,
And take it from me, people like being told what to do.
Well,
Good boys do.
cut the camera. Cut the camera. And when you're getting kinky, sometimes mistakes do happen, so Dead Inside asks, while not especially kink related, does somebody need to go through bad experiences in order to learn what they enjoy or don't?
I don't know if you need to, but it's definitely a fast way to learn.
Yeah, that's one way to re-navigate what you're into. Bad experiences teach us how to be better at bottoming for some of us. They teach us what things we're not into. They even teach us what kind of people we're not into, unfortunately. And while I'm not wishing that upon you, I do think those are some of the most pivotal moments in learning for kink for me.
And you don't necessarily have to have bad experiences to figure out if a kink's not for you. You can just be like, I didn't enjoy that.
But there has been kinks that, like Chastity, I was not into the first time I did it because I was with someone who was really bad at being a person that was into chastity. They were unforgiving, they were very aggressive, they weren't kind about, like, if I don't have time to be in the chastity and I literally can't, like, don't be a dick about
And
it.
that's very common for things like impact play. The first person you play with to spank you or whip you, they don't know what they're doing. It's gonna give you a bad taste in your mouth. And this happened to me. You know, the first time I was flogged, I didn't like it because the top went in too hard, too fast, and didn't know how to read my body language. But I tried it again with someone who did, and it was a magical experience.
Mistakes are going to be a very foundational way in which you might learn about your kinks, and I'm sorry if you have to go through that shit, sometimes literally. Bottoming is not always easy. Ooh, this next one from Jennifer. It's not about relationships in general, it's a little bit more personal, but Jennifer asks, would you and Mr. Christopher ever go to bed on an angry word? No, we'd go to bed on our Helix Sleep mattress.
I think they mean, would you go to bed angry after a fight?
Yeah.
And a lot of couples have that rule. We won't go to bed angry.
We never fight.
That's not true. But when we do,
What do you mean?
it's Dos Equis.
I prefer Dos Equis.
Generally, we don't because actually we don't get angry when we fight.
I think we do a good job of communicating.
Yeah.
We don't get angry, no. I think we are at a point where we know that we're always in the best interest of each other. We watched this TikTok from Brene Brown the other day. She was talking about marriage, but you can do it for relationships as well. It boils down to making communication easier for you and your partner, and it goes a little like this.
Everyone says marriage should be 50-50. It's the biggest crock of bullshit I've ever heard. It's never 50-50.
Yeah.
Ever. And so what we do is we quantify where we are. So if Steve comes home and he'll be like, I got 20.
Just in terms of energy.
Just energy, investment, kindness, patience. I'm at 20. And I'll be like, I'll cover you. I got you, brother. I'll pull the 80.
Brother.
Sometimes we come home, which we have done a lot. My mom has been sick, and I'll say, I've got 10. And Steve 2 days ago said, I'm riding a solid 25. So we know that we have to sit down at the table anytime we have less than 100 combined and figure out a plan of kindness toward each other.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, because the thing is, marriage is not something that's 50-50. A partnership works when you can carry their 20 or they can carry your 20. And that when you both just have 20, you have a plan where you don't hurt each other.
That is the most important part of a relationship, in my mind, is that you're with someone because you care about them. And when you have a fight, it's not because you don't care about the person. It's because you're at a different energy level or something else is in the way that day, or maybe you're just having a bad day. And the reason we don't go to bed angry is because I think we know that we're constantly in a relationship together.
And when you do go to bed angry, you're really unnecessarily hurting the other person because that's all they're going to be thinking about.
Have we ever gone to bed angry? Probably. Do we like to? No. And do we very much go out of our way to make sure we don't? Yeah. I think we are really good in that way of knowing when we're at fault or when the other person needs some space. And we're good about communicating that. And while some of us communicate a little bit more than others because they talk far too much, How is your energy level, Daddy?
I'm a solid 2.
Here comes the other 98%. Woo! Yeah! Though if you're bad at math, that might not work for you.
Which I am. Yeah.
Let's get back on that poly train, though, with this next question from Scruffy Boy, who asks, how did you, or how do others figure out that you/they were polyamorous? How do people, or how did you figure out you were poly?
I figured out I was poly when I got into a relationship with you, and the puppy scene was new to me, and it was like handlers and puppies, and I saw all these relationships that were successful with different puppies and handlers in their life, and I was like, that works for me. And you didn't seem to be jealous of any other puppies I would pet.
Careful.
So we just went on from there. And then that developed into other relationships. I had other relationships with people, and you had other relationships with people, and we discussed them.
It was open at that time.
Right.
We were ethically non-monogamous.
We never have been monogamous, let's put it that way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because our expectations from the get-go were very much like,
That you're a whore. I mean, I'm a whore.
you can always communicate more with your partner. I'm gonna have some words before we get angry.
I'm at a 27.
I'm gonna be riding a solid your ass here in a second. But our expectations were met. We were there for each other when we needed. We communicated what we needed. And people came and went, but it was the progress of the relationship was casual dating, very much open. And then we realized that these people that came and go were really nice and great and we loved them, but sometimes they wanted to leave and do their own thing, but we were always the primaries for each other. And I think that's how I knew I was polyamorous, is because I have tons of love to give people. I mean, arguably too much love. I give a lot of love.
It's true.
I give a lot of love.
So much.
How do people generally figure out, though, is when they find that they have a lot of love, they might not have everything from their primary partner, but they know that they have enough love and enough bandwidth. You have to have that emotional bandwidth for other people. And I think that the fault of people is, oh my God, I can just have tons of sex in relationships when they start to get poly, but they don't realize that that sex, while it might not mean everything to you, it might mean something to that person that you're having the sex with. You have to be able to communicate and have that bandwidth to do those conversations.
You need to be good at relationships to begin with, because if you think about it, not only do you have that one relationship, you're adding relationships to it, and each one is complex with different sets of needs.
It doesn't replace, it doesn't supplement. They are their own things that might overlap, but they should still be treated as their own relationships, even if they are with people that also have a relationship, you know? And that's specifically where psychologists and therapists in this realm will differentiate that the structure is what makes it different. An open relationship and poly seem so similar because of how one person's poly might look like openness to another couple, and one person's openness might actually be poly, you know? How we differentiate and structure it is how we do it. That doesn't mean it's gonna work for you, but that's why and how poly worked for us.
But the question was, how did we do it? So
Perfectly.
no.
Oh.
Definitely
You make
not
mistakes.
perfectly.
You make mistakes. Be
And
poly.
you learn from those mistakes.
You learn from them. We don't wish that upon you to make mistakes, but mistakes happen.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes the most formative ways you learn.
Yep. But I try and I try again.
You do.
I do.
I've had gold star.
Woohoo. Hi, gay.
This next one might be more for me than you whatsoever, but Pup Aeon asks, would love a segment on how to navigate demi/non-demi relationships. I feel like even for experienced couples, this can be tricky. Demisexual people. They are people that have, of course, initial attraction can exist, but the secondary attraction is the most important for them/me. As a demisexual person, my emotional bond with someone is what makes me want to be in a relationship with them, to have sexual energy with them. This is more important than like, ooh, you're hot, but you are hot, you're so hot.
Which is why some people have better times going to an orgy, having anonymous sex with many people, and a demisexual, not so much.
I actually had this conversation the other day. I had a friend that was like talking about this great sex party that was being started in the city, and then he turned to me and he's like, but you might not enjoy it. And I immediately went like, excuse you.
Excuse me, bro. You're excused. And I'm not your bro.
Doesn't mean you have to have sex.
Yeah,
You might enjoy it.
Yeah, I just went to a sex convention that had sex at it with some people that I didn't know super well, but it's because I was building emotional connections with them and then was able to spark that emotional connection into a nice fling. Demisexual people still have sex. Asexual people can still have sex if they feel that need or want or that attraction to someone. But you have to be really good about navigating it, because a lot of times I also give off a flirty vibe, I'm told, that some people get offended by because they think that I'm being too overly flirtatious. That's just me trying to be nice, unfortunately. I'm a nice person. I'm a nice person!
Are you awkward flirty?
I just look at him like this.
That would do it.
I thought I was looking constipated. They thought I was learning. Who knew?
I try not to look so constipated.
How do you navigate demi relationships? The Spark Notes: communicate, make your emotions known, be interested in your partner beyond just the sex, you know?
And being in a relationship with someone who is demi is actually a really great thing because I know how close they are to me. So I don't worry so much. As long as I am nice and kind and stay on their good side, it's all good.
Getting close to you.
Yeah, well, you could back up a little bit.
But I'm curious to kind of answer the question as
Yeah.
well. Like, when it comes to sex, it's confusing sometimes for people that aren't demi, the vibe.
The boys?
Right, especially
Choose your words carefully.
like at an orgy, for instance. A lot of people don't need that personal one-on-one connection in order to have that attraction. Usually it's based purely on physicality. So when they approach you and you're like, oh, let's talk first, they get offended.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, why don't you want to unzip your pants and let's go?
I would actually like to talk to you about your favorite comic books first.
I'm like,
And
lost
also at a sex party, sometimes you can't have conversations like that. So it is hard to navigate. But that's where I find apps do help a lot to chat with people before events happen or even before like a party. There's ways you can RSVP for parties even if they are the sexual variety. I find more casual situations are a lot easier for me to make an initiative to really be flirty.
and being in an environment where you can talk. That's important for you.
What? I can't hear you over there. I love this
A loud
song.
club is not going to really do it for you, but
This one comes from Fennec, who asks, how do you rebuild trust after a partner has hurt you? And then in parentheses, not necessarily cheating, but why not talk about that too? How do you rebuild trust after a partner hurts you?
that's a tough one. The answer is just slowly. It's going to take time. Once you've broken somebody's trust, that pain, that hurt lasts a very long time, and that's all they remember.
Yeah.
So it takes a very long time.
It's like, to use your analogy, you're shattering a very nice porcelain piece of whatever. You have to glue that back together the best you can. You have to do it carefully, gently, and it helps to understand where the fault was too. Whenever you have a disagreement with your partners, whether you're breaking up or whether you're getting back together or dealing with cheating, you have to understand where your faults were, own those, and show how you can do better. Say how you do better, but show how you can be better as well.
And even when you do glue that vase back together, you can still see the fracture cracks. It takes a long time.
Put some glitter in the glue, and then make those cracks like an experience, you know?
More decorative.
No, that's an actual thing that they do in
I know,
Japan,
I
though.
know.
They put gold paint / glue to fix broken pottery, and it's meant to be like this metaphor for like, yeah, something bad happened, but let's turn it into something beautiful.
So yeah, as you're gluing your relationship back together, overdo it a little bit.
The way you say that, it sounds bad. It does sound bad. But how do you build that trust again? Slowly, you get to know the person again. You talk and you make your
Consistently
priorities known.
acknowledge, apologize. Even if you're forgiven, just know that they're always thinking about it.
No, don't put that fear of something. I think the most important thing is that you go back to, why are you guys in a relationship? Is it because you enjoy each other? Then I think you can move past this. You love this person? Then I think that you can work to move past it, but it will be work. And that is unfortunately on you. And while mistakes were made, and we don't wish mistakes do help in learning a lot.
So get some glitter glue.
That is how we're gonna end it though, and not on a bad note, because we had a really great time answering your questions. Thank you again for sending in your relationship questions. We did a whole episode where we answered even more of these on the podcast space. But if you have questions, Daddy, where can they leave those?
Oh, in the comments, I was gonna give my website. I was like, if you want to see the naughty stuff.
Whether you're in a relationship or not, and you put a question or not down there
Leave
below,
your comments down below.
always have a safe word, and today's safe word is...
Glitter glue for me and you.
See, that's confusing, because our preferred lube has little Elmer's glue tops to them.
Yeah, it looks like Elmer's glue. I always feel like I'm doing a craft project when I'm
Sticky too.
gluing your cheeks together.
Leave a like down below if you enjoyed this video,
And if you like ringing bells, ring that bell.
and we will see you all next time. Bye!
Bye.
What did you have for lunch?
Beans.
Chipotle again?
Chipotle. The gay Chipotle.
The what?
The gay Chipotle.
Say it in the syllables.
Chipotle.
Cheryl Canning.
What is it?
Chipotle.
Oh, just, tomato.
Chipotle. There's a difference.